Concerns about the cost of childcare, like we all know very well, and I know as a parent of 3 children, are very real. Childcare is an expensive business, and it should be. After all, we've highly qualified professional staff caring for our children and who are the most precious members of our society. This is not a service that can be delivered on the cheap, and yet the system has been designed to deliver just that. A quality system on the cheap, delivered in the community sector through voluntary committees responsible for implementing increasingly complex and confusing schemes, and in the private sector through the unpaid labour of small independent providers. While the large corporate chains are making vast profits, small providers continue to struggle to make funding streams work for them. And it's not like this crisis in childcare happened overnight. It's been like a runaway train for successive Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael-led governments. And the implementation of the third employment regulation order for the early years have steadily increased the basic pay per hour from €13 in 2022 to €15 this September. And this was hard fought. This was hard fought and hard won, and it was won by trade unions and workers on the ground. During this same period, the minimum wage has risen from €10.50 to €13.50 today, and will be increasing to €14.50 in January. Obviously, I completely welcome the increase in the minimum wage, but how will a basic difference per hour between 85 cents per hour attract people to choose a career in a highly rewarding but challenging sector? The reality is that there remains a recruitment and retention crisis in the sector, and the crisis is deepening. SIPTU's pre-budget submission identified a 25% turnover rate. Low pay is cited by 86% of early years educators as being the main reason for leaving the sector. Experienced early years educators, managers and even providers continue to leave the sector. Many choose to become special needs assistants, where the starting salary is €16.83 per hour, €1.3 above the base rate for an early years educator and €2.68 above the minimum wage. On the other hand, qualified national school teachers, and I know that it was referenced here that they are teachers and they're the first level of education, qualified national school teachers receive €44.67 per hour, almost 3 times the hourly rate of an early years educator. Is it any wonder that the early years sector loses a huge amount of graduates to the primary education sector every year? Low wages continue to mean that there is a shortage of staff, and we know that a shortage of staff results in a shortage of child places, especially in the baby and toddler rooms where the staff to child ratio is much higher. And a shortage of child places means, as in the rest of the economy, that when the demand outstrips supply, those providing these services can increase their price. Access to core funding, the ECHE and the NCS and other schemes work for many providers, but they're not working for others. And indeed, it does suit some providers, particularly big chains, to leave core funding and increase their fees to parents. Small providers do not have the resources to address pay and conditions on their own. Families do not have the capacity to pay the fees which would be required to address pay and conditions. And the only body which has the capacity to make the investment required to make our early years sector fit for the future is the state. And I'm glad that there is going to be a commitment to moving towards this. Unfortunately, the budget left a lot of people disappointed because maybe of the over-promising coming up to the election. An additional cost which my colleagues in Sligo, particularly in the community sector, are concerned about is the cost of auto-enrolment. And they and I are fully welcoming the introduction, of course, of auto-enrolment, but everyone's in favour of pensions, but how will it be paid? The cost for a large community sector that I'm involved with has been estimated to be 10 to 12,000, and we're just wondering how will this be paid? Is finance going to be made available for the community sector and to all independent early years providers? So it is time that we start to treat the early years sector as a serious and the integral part of the education system, and which is a public good.